Well, ladies and gentlemen, start your engines because we're zooming into the wild world of car buying. Whether you're a seasoned road warrior or just dipping your toes into the automotive pool. Schoolsfirst Federal Credit Union is here to help us navigate some of the twists and turns of buying a car in today's market. Joining us in the driver's seat today is Stephanie Swanson, their Assistant Manager of Indirect Dealer Relations. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm sure people out there have a lot of questions about this. I know I do.
Oh, good.
So maybe, Stephanie, could you give us like an overall snapshot of the climate when it comes to car buying and what challenges are folks facing out there right now?
Well, when you look at car buying today, affordability is so different than it was a few years ago. Just for instance, pre-pandemic, 38% of new cars were $30,000 or less.
Oh, wow.
Today, it's 3%. So for our car buyers that are starting this process, you're looking at rising interest rates, fluctuating prices. It can be so overwhelming. So that's what we always want to encourage. Do your research. You need to have knowledge before you head out and start shopping.
Yeah, it is a different climate these days. It's everything after the pandemic. It's a little different than it was before the pandemic. Now, used cars have had their own story to tell, right? Tell us a little bit about that and what trends you've maybe observed in that market.
Sure. Well, typically used cars are less than new cars, but that cost has gone up as well over the years. The one thing that we're still encountering is used car shortages. And a lot of that has to do with consumers are hanging on to their cars longer than they ever have before. We have rental car companies that are hanging on to their inventory. And another trend that we're noticing is for our consumers that lease, at the end of their lease, they're opting to purchase that vehicle. They're not turning it back into the dealership. As a result, then we have more limited used cars on the dealership lot.
I'm one of those people. I'm holding on to my car for dear life. You know, if it's not broken, I don't like to get a new one, right? So it's always interesting to know what's new under the hood, too, Stephanie. Can you maybe highlight some emerging car trends that you guys have found?
Well, sure. During the pandemic, we had supply chain issues. So we noticed manufacturers were focusing more on the higher price point vehicles with more bells and whistles. It appears we're continuing that trend. As of April this year, the average new car cost is $46,000. So when you compare that to December of 2019, it was less than $39,000. So that's a substantial increase.
That's a huge increase that folks need to be aware of.
Right. And then, you know, the other thing is you may have your heart set on a new car. Maybe look at a used one. Widen your net. Widen your search.
That's actually a good tip, to not go to the lot and fall in love with the car maybe before you've done your research into your own finances, because then it's like, oh, I have to have that.
Right.
I have to do anything to get that. Yeah. And so numbers do matter, especially when it comes to financing. How are the current financing rates looking these days?
Well, we all know interest rates are rising. So what we encourage everyone to do, go to your local credit union or your bank and ask for some estimates. Compare rates. Ask for estimates on different loan values, different terms. Because as you know, the longer the term, your payment is going to be lower, but you also have to remember your interest rate is going to be higher, and you're going to pay more for that car over the life of the loan.
Absolutely. And shop around, I would think, and also have that loan in place before you get to the lot and again, fall in love with your dream car.
Absolutely.
And get your heart broken. So once potential car buyers have all of the interest rate information, what should they do with it?
Good strategy is get pre-approved. Give yourself peace of mind. By doing that, you're going to know the amount of car you can afford. You're also going to know what your monthly payment's going to be. And that is great because you can set a realistic budget. And nowadays, it's so easy to get pre-approved. It's quick. If you have a financial institution or a credit union you're working with, many times you can apply online, you can apply over the phone, or if you want to, you can go in person.
I love that too. Yeah, everything's all over the internet these days, but it's nice to do in person. Have that kind of, have that connection. So any final nuggets of wisdom you would like to share with those who are gearing up to make the big car purchase?
Let me think. The one thing I would say is knowledge is king. And when you start looking for your vehicle, research is so important. Go to your local dealerships. Check out the inventory. If you have a very specific want, you may have to widen your search. The other thing you have to think about is if you have a trade-in, go to a number of dealerships, see what the trade-in value you can get. Or you may opt to sell your car privately.
Oh, that's a good idea.
If that works out better for you. The other thing to remember, sticker price, it's that, but there's additional costs. Remember, sales tax, license, additional add-ons. And the other thing to remember, you've got this beautiful car. You need insurance on that beautiful car. That's another payment you need to factor into your budget. So at Schoolsfirst, we have a number of accessories you can look at. We have a car loan calculator. We also have budget tips. It's very easy to access anytime. Just go to schoolsfirstfcu.org.
Stephanie, Love you. You have
Oh,
so many
you're
great tips. So many great tips to make car buying a little bit easier for you all out there, hopefully. And as Stephanie mentioned, you can visit one of the many Schoolsfirst Federal Credit Union branch locations as seen on the screen there. And as always, you can zoom on over to schoolsfirstfcu.org. Well, still to come, it's time to